I'm going to ask a massive favour from you guys. If you like and subscribe to this channel just right here, right, and after you've watched this episode, please go and watch more. Go and watch more shorts. Go and watch everything else, and like and subscribe. The more it gets out there, the more my message gets out there, because I've helped 4 people already, and so many more, and I want to get my message out there. So like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Let's get this message out there. Thank you.
Hello everyone, how are we today? You're inspiring change. I'm your host John Knight. I have a special exclusive guest with me today. His journey was through multiple efforts of where he went. And he's a dear friend of mine. So his name's Steve. I'd like to introduce you to Steve. Steve is a friend that I met on a walk one day, and we reconnected, and we were going to think. So Steve, tell me how your journey began. How did it start?
Well, I've had multiple traumas in my life, but I've landed up working with health organisations now, doing mental health talks, stuff like that about the traumas I've experienced. They've been quite varied. Psychosis, family courts, I've been through it all, bereavements, COVID, nearly died of that. I had to learn to walk again. Lost ability to write.
Yeah. So how did COVID affect you massively?
Wiped me out. And I've been through a lot of stuff leading up to that. I was spinning a lot of plates, and then I had COVID, and it was actually then, because I had to stop, that's when I got really ill. And that's when the local hospital saved my life, and everyone got the do not resuscitate phone. It was that bad. They told the next 24 hours was critical. I lost 4.5 stone, couldn't walk, couldn't write. My eyesight was failing, my body was shutting down. So it was pretty grim.
Yeah. It sounds it. So what's the thing that you could take away from that you learned as a change?
Take all the support you can get. We could go really deep on this, but when other people might feel the same, you can be in traumatic situations where you actually turn away help without realising. And then one day you wake up and it's like being at the bottom of a well and all the escape ladders are gone. So I was surrounded, I had a change of career. I now work for a leading UK health organisation. I used to work a good job in London for 35 years. I left that. That was basically down to my ill health, but then I decided to go and work in this area. And just talking about it now, just trying to get out and trying to help people not make the same mistakes as I did. There's plenty of good stuff. I should have been dead 1,000 times. My medical team, my mental health team, mate, everything works. It's mad. But if you'd seen me, you wouldn't have put money on it. But it's trying to help people now. Not talking about the things I've done well, it's about talking the mistakes that I made and that I've learned. And that helps me. That helps me now stay on the straight and narrow.
So what's the biggest failure that you've actually come across?
The biggest
failure that you've come across?
Of me?
Of yourself, yeah.
Thinking that I had it all under control. But the thing is, it was a slow, because I had some multiple traumas, all different sorts, which I won't go into now. It was a slow slip into that black hole. And like I say, one day you wake up and realise I am really in trouble here, and you've pushed everyone away.
How did that feel for your existing family members? How did they feel about that? Did they feel that it was...
That was difficult, and I lost friends, I lost relationships over it. But then people step forward and you wouldn't expect. And like now, my family know what I went through. I mean, we're very good at looking at people and judging them without realising, looking at their actions, but not realising what the options they had at the time. So being able to speak to, that's the first thing I did before I went and worked for anyone, talked about anything, was made sure I was cool with my family, told them exactly what had gone on, and it was received well. So now, you know, if I go out and do a mental health talk and 50 people in the room think what I'm talking about is tosh, if I've hit one person and made a difference, then that's all good by me. But then 50 people, it don't matter, because my family and my close people know what happened and they're okay with it. But it was terrible at the time, awful.
So if I was a fly on the wall back then, how would I see things from your perspective and a family member's perspective? Would it have been that they couldn't understand the way things were then, or was it just that it was not acceptable to? It was acceptable, but it was trying to get the gist out of the can, trying to make you feel better out of it.
Well, they were trying to get their information from a source that wasn't working properly. My operating system in my head had gone. So I had periods of psychosis which were serious, but it was intermingled with reality. So someone could ask me on the phone what's going on, chat to me for an hour, and some of it would be real, some of it wouldn't, but people just tended to go along with it, try and help me. But people aren't experts in mental health, and that's the other reason for talking about it.
Yeah,
it's about educating people, because I lived on my own as well, so that didn't help.
Do you find that that mental health now is bigger than ever? As talks that you've done, how do you feel that it's come across in big crowds?
Really well, but I mean, everywhere you look now, everyone's saying, you know, they're championing mental health. Some places say they don't do it, or don't quite know how to do it. But yeah, we're a lot better. We're a lot better at it now. But when this happened, I mean, I had to leave my old job 35 years because they tried to support me, but they didn't understand what was going on. I was in the hospital with COVID, first wave COVID, and originally it was my son rung for an ambulance on a Saturday. They took me in and then sent me home and said, oh, you got pneumonia. And this was April 25th, 2020, I believe it was. And then on the Monday, I was still so ill. A friend came round, called an ambulance, took me back in, and they said, oh, we realise now that people with first wave COVID are getting pneumonia. So then they worked out I'd already had COVID and was in the pneumonia stage. So even in the hospitals, they were, when I was taken in as an inpatient and in segregated, the doctors and nurses were coming round with clipboards asking us what we eat, and they didn't know what they were dealing with. They did a great job, but they were working with one hand tied behind their backs. So I went through that. When you go into a hospital and you're that ill, and you've got consultants saying, if you're well enough, so what happens next? When they say to you, we don't know, that's not the usual thing. You know, they normally at least give you a few options. They really didn't know. But yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah. Did that scare your family massively?
I was too ill to be scared, to be honest with you. It was just, you were just sitting revolving, not knowing what's going to happen next. And even now, there's 200 long-term effects from COVID that are now registered with the NHS. So there's all sorts of long-term problems that people had from that first wave.
Massively, it was a bad time for a lot of people in many respects. But for yourself, what have you had that's inspired people to come up to you and say, look, Steve, this is great. I've really enjoyed this, and what bosses what outlet have you had from it?
Well, when I came out of hospital, I'd left my old job and I decided I wanted to get in helping people doing something. I couldn't go back to my old line of work. It seemed pointless after what I'd been through, and I wasn't before, not religious, not spiritual, but I was coming out. I'd had what you'd class as a near-death experience, which is another talk that I do. That was strange, but it completely changed my life. So I came out, started volunteering because I still wasn't very well, but I just had to get out and talk to people, basically. It was just helping me as much as it was anyone else. And eventually I ended up getting invited to work with the university in London, who do all the training for a big UK health organisation. And they asked me if I wanted to do talks. I've done podcasts and interviews for them on different aspects of what happened to me. But that's drawn people in. But 2.5 days a week I work for these people, and I've got service users left, right and centre. It's great because in my old job it was all about KPIs and budgets. But with this, the feedback you get is people were wanting to come and see me, and I can't fit any more in at the moment. So to me, that's the best feedback I could have. And then helping these people and sit. So I've done youth football coaching in Bedfordshire as well for 14 years. And I realised when I was in hospital, it wasn't that I love football and I love the coaching, but it was getting the kids that I coached to do something they couldn't think they could do. So I do that now, but in the mental health realms with people that have been through trauma, ex-offenders, people with complex emotional needs. Anyone needs to come and speak to me basically and gets referred to me. So, and that helps me a lot.
How does it help you helping a young teenager?
Well, I'll tell you what, John, there are so many kids and families I've met over Bedfordshire doing football coaching, but it's great, even in the last couple of months I can be out somewhere and some little nipper that I started coaching with that way, I get this, I had one the other day, 6'9", come up to me and said, Steve, I'm like, he went, it's Sam. I was like, hello mate, and they're on the straight and narrow, working, staying out of games, keeping themselves on, you know, that's a good buzz.
How does that make you feel when you've had that impact on someone like that?
Do you know what? I had imposter syndrome and there's all sorts of stuff I've had to deal with, but it doesn't really, it's nice to have, but I very rarely talk about it, but it's really nice because it's happened quite a lot. And I've grown a lot since I've coached a lot of these kids. I've grown, you know, went in at year R, and I did a load of football teams up to 18, and now they're like 19, 20, they're like 6'4", 6'5", it's funny. Well, I remember them not wanting to play because they were holding their sock, do you know what I mean?
Wow, that's inspiring to you.
And so respectful as well.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah, so that must have been a lot good for you to do that. Do you still do it now?
I haven't because I've been busy with this, but I want to get back into it. But yeah, the younger age groups.
Yeah.
Because my work's quite heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of a release. Yeah, it gets a bit serious under 18s.
Yeah, no.
Good, it was a good job I had good teams. Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's great. So what? So I just want to go back to the talks and what you found out. Did the organisation give you a lot of credit on your life experience?
Yeah, and the first talk I ever did for them was to 60 or 70 mental health graduates in their little theatre in London. It was great. And I did it with 2 other speakers, and I asked them, I said, the only thing I'd like is, could you get feedback after? See if there's anything that we've missed that they'd like to have heard, or if there was bits that they would like to. Anyway, one of the first comments, they collated all this feedback. One of the first things on there was that this today has got the potential to change the way we practice mental health. And it was the first comment I saw and I thought, it don't matter what happens now. I've already come, I knew I was coming. I've tried to work out why I didn't die, what reason it is, because it was just me. And I thought, that's it now, that's it. And that was the first comment, so I thought it don't matter if the next 10 are bad. And they weren't, they were all great comments, but that was the one that stands out because it's the first one top of the page. And these people are graduating and going out as consultants and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's been well received, and it's really bizarre. I went to a workshop, I was invited to a workshop with all these heads of this and the heads of that. I was in awe of them. I still am at the hospital that saved my life in the NHS, right? I was sat in this room chatting with these people all day, tea and biscuits, just chatting about what happened to me. And that evening I got an email from the university saying, will you come back again? You was the star of the show. I'm like, well, I was sat there chatting to all these people about what they do and great stuff and a little bit about what happened to me. And the lead nurse lecturer at the university said, no, you don't get it, Steve. Even the consultants that were helping you when you're in psychosis haven't had it before. So to be able to speak to someone who's now coherent and well enough to talk about it, and that's the problem. The traumas that I've been through, other people have been through them, but we're not very good at then going out and talking about it because we're worried about what people are going to think.
What do you think that the UK could do better at? You think, as America, they do a lot of talking, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you think the UK could do a lot more in that perspective?
Yeah, I work on quality improvement programs for this organisation, and it's simple things like I've asked why people like Mind and the NHS aren't having, when these football clubs where I coached, they would have summer tournaments. They would let you go and have a stall there, a Mind stall or an NHS stall, and just educate people. Because it's when you're in a mental health crisis, and this is another thing, when you're in a mental health crisis, you'll often get sent home with a crisis team number, right, to help you out during the crisis. When I was in psychosis, the last thing I was going to do was go and dig that number out, and I lived on my own. So all this was going on in my flat, no one knew. So what you need to do is educate people so they know the signs of someone's mental health going down.
Yeah.
And it's something like the football, and I use football as an example. Any sport, you'd be able to get simple stuff like that. There's great people all over the place could think of ways that you could educate You know, why not have a St John's ambulance ice cream van with, you know, mind to get inventive? Do you know what I mean?
What do you think that would be a great way of the NHS to or mine to give back to the community? Like, for example, would it be like a stall or an event on mental health, or a talk on mental health, which is basically free to give to people who need that more than ever?
They do what they can, and I have to be careful here because it's funding. Yeah, it's funding. There is great people there that would do it, but they got their hands full. And it's been known for a while now in these circles that we're already in a mental health crisis, and we're creaking to deal with the people we've got already. We've got all these kids. Don't forget the formative years 1 to 6 that were born, or in that period of their life during COVID. They're going to grow up, they're going to have stuff going on. They weren't able to socialise, they missed out on a lot of stuff they were kept in. And when these kids, like I say, they were that age, like when I was first, they're going to be them 6'4" kids wandering around with mental health issues, not all of them, but it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, so do you think that now that is the only time now is to implement things that could be done for people, like, for example, meditation or something?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've had some great mentors that has helped as well. That's really helped me, who have led me into becoming a lot calmer and making myself whole. Looking at what's happened in my life, taking people's responsibilities out of situations that have happened, other than what happened to me. Why did I land up in that situation? Just teaching people life skills.
Yeah.
We get taught how to answer questions in school. We don't get taught how to think.
So why do you think that is? Do you think that's because we're already taught to sit down and be quiet, or?
Well, the education system over here, maybe you can look this up. Whoever it was invented the education system over here basically said this is made to make for people that are working, not to make them spiritually aware.
Yeah. So, but being spiritual makes more things happen, right? So
it's been a great help, and I love researching it. And when I nearly died, through what I saw, I tried looking at all different religions. I'm half Indian. My dad, he's just passed away this year, but he's Sikh. My mum's white English. She's a Christian. I looked at loads of different religions, and none of them did it for me. But then I looked at spirituality, and I thought, that's it. That's all accepting. I accept everyone, every creed, every colour, every religion's fine. But for me, spirituality works.
yeah,
And
so
it's helped me a lot.
so how has that helped you shape your life today and what you're doing today?
Just realising that we've all got a connection. And in whatever religion you're in as well, there is that same theme for it. It's just worded slightly differently in spirituality. I'm not crazy, I'm not walking around with crystals in my hands all the time, but I'm aware of it every day. I do some, time to think. I listen to recordings of certain people. I've got mentors that I listen to.
Yeah.
I do it every day, and it helps put things in perspective.
How does it put into perspective for you as a person? So when you go in to do your job, then you know that you can do it to 100% of your ability.
Well, one thing it's taught me is that most of us steer our ship through life looking backwards at the wake that we've left, and we try and smooth out the rough sea that we've left, and we're not looking in front of us. So it's about turning around and seeing the bigger picture. And that where you are now, this is the thing as well, and it still happens, you'll even get it in hospitals, is that we judge people when we see them. We judge them. So you see someone in a crisis, it's a chapter in a book. If they with the right help, that can just be a chapter in a book for someone, but we seem to look at people and label them. So it's helped take, there's so much to it, John, we could sit here for hours. It's been a real help to me.
But yeah, so just to touch on it, what do you think that could be authentically better for someone that's in that position? Do you think it would be better if they just, they can't think that straight out at that point, so they obviously need to think of where they can go and how they can do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, the people I deal with aren't really ready to go out and, they could be going through trauma as I meet them. And I'm not telling anyone what to do, do you know what I mean? This is what worked for me. Religion might work for someone, it might not. Spirituality might not. I'm not, but for me, that's what it's having something to cling on to and having a reason to cling on. and not to be overwhelmed. I mean, one thing that happened to me, and this is so simple, is that through all the stuff that happened to me, at no point did anyone sit there, put their arm around me and say, do you know what, Steve, this can be all right. So it's something I say to people now that I work with, this can be all right. Then you've got to be careful you don't overload someone in a trauma with a vision of the future which just seems impossible. You then got to step it, but that's got to be an individual process. But spirituality has helped me it's not even about the people around me, it's about how I am inside and how to portray myself.
Wow. So how do you think do you think anything's possible for a person to go from your story to now? Do you think they can pick themselves up and go,
well, I've done it,
yeah.
I'm a nobody. I'm not special. Like I say, now I can talk about what happened to me all day long, but to me it's not particularly special. I only realised it's special when people started inviting me to do talks. And instead of having 3 people to see at work on an afternoon, I've got 10, then 20, then 50. That's the only way. To me, it's just, and if I can do it, anyone can. But it's not about me telling anyone how to live their life. If anything, it's like, right, on this occasion, this is what I did, it didn't work. So what do you for leading the person to their own conclusions, to finding their own path?
Yeah.
Because people kick against it otherwise, and chances are it's not going to work. I'm not here to dictate to anyone.
But from the journey that you've been on, that sounds like it's come from a life experience with knowledge.
100%, yeah. I mean, before this all happened, in about 2015, 16, I was cruising along, massive house, really well paid job that I've been at for 35 years, absolute job security, and doing well in it, winning awards and stuff. It was going well. 3 lovely kids, more than 1 car in the drive, money in the bank, everything seemed fine, but my life wasn't right. It weren't right. And I've later been diagnosed with PTSD, which I picked up along the way, but I look back now, and I've got an ADHD assessment, and that's answered, not to put a label, but it's answered a lot of, well, it's not even answered, it's made me realise that I had certain behaviours in the past, which I ended up self-sabotaging myself with. My head would never stop. So I like to drink. I always liked to drink through my life. It only became bad later on. But now I don't touch alcohol. I can look back and say, from as when I was old enough, I was a functioning alcoholic, but it was the only thing that would stop this.
Yeah, so how do you think that would be perspective to you as a person? So you've gone through all that, and what point of that life did you see that my life isn't great, I can't focus properly, I'm able to see it better, in better ways?
Well, literally on my bed when I had COVID, because I was unconscious in there and that, but I remember sitting on the end of the bed, and for some reason I didn't have a phone with me, and I remember sitting there and everything that had happened, because there was some horrors that happened to a couple of my family members that they went through, and it all hit me. I remember sitting on the end of the bed when it hit me, and then there was one point when I got home on one occasion, in and out of hospital, in and out, down to London in hospital and out. But I remember laying on my bed one day in my bedroom, looking out the window, and I've never, ever, ever felt like that before in my life, and I hope no one else does, but unfortunately they will have done. I laid on this bed, it was about 8 in the morning, it was light. I was looking out, could see the trees, and I was laid on my bed, and the thought in my mind was like, it's just not worth getting up. There was no other thought, not that I can't get up, that, well, what do I do here? There was no thought, it was gone.
Did you describe the pain, what it felt like?
Physical pain through COVID and having to learn to walk again and my organs trying to shut down, that was horrible. But then I was so drugged up by the medical teams, a lot of the time I didn't realise it was going on. So I was lucky in a way that I wasn't really there with it for a lot of it. But trying to learn to walk again when I was living on my own, that was terrible. And then I started off doing a few steps in my flat, and then it got further and further to the door. Anyway, after a period of time, I managed to walk round my block, and then one day I thought, I think I can make it to the shops. It's only 2 minutes up the road. Walked up to the shops. I thought, right, I'll buy 2 little light bags of shopping. Got on back, and there's 2 flights of stairs to go out to my flat, and I was so weak. I was in the gym before I got ill, like squatting 160 kilograms. I had 2 bags, they could bring in 5 kilograms each. I'll tell you what, John, I don't know how I got up them stairs, mate. It was like trying to lift a lorry up the stairs. So I hadn't thought that through.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had its challenges, yeah. And then, there was another time. I was slithering around like a snake, right? My flat was a mess. Eventually they got district nurses into me, but it was bad. And on one occasion, when I got taken into hospital, there was a mix-up and with the police, and I bought my flat, but I'm a leaseholder of the housing association. It turned out the police knew my dog was in there, and she didn't get out for 3 days. And then they brought me back from hospital. My dog by then had been taken away, but the flat was trashed. You could imagine the sort of mess that was there. And I was slithering around one day, thinking, I've got to have a bath, I've got to have a bath. I was so ill. I managed to get in the bath and turn it on. And then I thought, I can't get out. And this is how ill I was, right, John? I must have laid in that bath for about an hour thinking, I know people drown when they fall asleep, I'm going to drown. I was so ill, I didn't even think to pull the plug out. honestly, that's how bad I was, mate. I was gone. But I pulled the plug out, it took all the strength that I had just to get one leg over eventually and just fall on the floor. So yeah, there was quite a lot of pain, but psychologically it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was really horrible, yeah.
You found it the worst way ever to become, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a pretty horrible divorce, but then after that as well, I had a relationship, and that paid to this. That wasn't good.
Tell me about that then. So, how did the divorce shape you are as today? Did you just realise that relationships can be in partnership? They can be just the way they are, or
what I found, John, is that I was looking for validation in the wrong places all the time because I had a bit of a hole in myself. That's what it is. I wasn't comfortable in my own company, and that's not good when you're living on your own.
No.
So I was going out. My relationships haven't worked out right, but I look at it and think, take everything aside. Why did I go? Why did I put myself in that situation? And that's because I was accepting things that weren't really for me, but I was trying to shape myself to it because I needed validation from somewhere. And luckily now, and I'm 54 years old, man, if I found this out years ago, it would have saved me a lot of grief and a few other people. But I just didn't realise that's what I was like. But I like company, I'm social, but I like having a partner, and I call them a partner, but I just wasn't quite picking the right ones all the time. They will probably say about me, but yeah.
So with that then, what would you think the validation of sabotaging yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's like, because I find that hard now even to say when people say you've got to love yourself. With me, it's just I had to stop hating myself. I had a constant thing in my head that I'm not good enough. And I have it now, and it could be this trait, that trait, or whatever I've been diagnosed with. But how it works is, I know loads and loads of people, I can go to loads and loads of places, but I never quite feel that I'm accepted in them places.
Yeah.
I always feel like, they're great, but they put up with me a bit. Do you know what I mean? And that's hard. That's hard to go through 54 years of life thinking like that.
How did it affect you in the long run? Then that from today? Hundreds
and hundreds of friends, but this is where things like, Robin Williams and all that sort of thing happen. Where on the outside, it's great, he's always sociable, but inside you feel lonely. And that's what a lot of men go through. And I champion men's mental health now. That's not, I don't champion anyone else's mental health, but I'm a man. I talk about my lived experience. Yeah, so I'm a specialist in a lot of men's issues, let's put it that way, where I couldn't be in women's. But I work with experts in women's mental health, and what we said is our vision is to support the family, however that is now, however that works out.
So with today's being mental health awareness and stuff like that, what would you say, what would you give to a man to give them the talks that they need to do? So would you say to them to go and speak to Mind, to go and speak to the AHS, go and speak to a friend that can give them the support? First thing is to see if you've got anyone close. We're so good that people say, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. That's what we say all the time. But it's hard, it's very hard to try and get the right moment. But just try, you'll be amazed how, and like I say with me, there was people that come forward that I didn't expect. It was still real solid with me now. There's other people I had to push away, but you learn by your mistakes. But sitting on my own, the longer you sit on your own, the bigger that hole is. You might be lucky, you might be able to sort it out yourself. But what I find you get, if you mix trauma, addiction and isolation, you are going to hide into nothing.
And if you know, the thing to look at is what you fear most in your life. Look at yourself and think, what do I need to do the most, which I'm not doing? That's the thing you need to do. If you break through that, then you'll see a whole different world out there. But we get programmed from when we're kids. My mentor calls it the BS, the belief system.
Yeah.
As a kid, you run around, you're carefree, you're trying things, you're asking loads of questions all the time. What happens on the way?
So what do you think that BS looks like now? Do you think it's more intangible to today's world?
Well, talking from a men's perspective, from what I've found is, and luckily not my age, though we'll come on to that, but I'm seeing now a generation of males that don't really know what masculinity is about because it's been so mixed up. So, you know, whereas it used to be, you know, not a male thing to have the grooming products and all that, now they've got to feel they've got to be down the gym, you know, Mr. Gentle, but inside them, they've still got that masculinity, which sometimes gets called toxic if it comes out in the wrong way. So it's a balance. But you ask anyone now, what does masculinity mean to you? Most people don't know, can't give you an answer.
And the reason probably they can't give the answer is because it's just the way of the society's gone today.
People are scared to say.
Yeah.
But I had a good explanation last night. A fella said at a mental health awareness do I was at last night. He said, I see it like this, it's like a pyramid. You're strong as a male, but it's from the bottom up. So you support. You're not at the top of the pyramid, pushing down and getting out of people.
Yeah.
That would be toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
But you're there to support. But
what would you say that's the most healthiest thing that someone can do in today's world?
for me, it was the gym. The gym, yeah. I mean, the studies, again, anyone can look it up between mental health and physical health. You can't be denied. And it doesn't got to be the gym. It could be anything. If you're lucky enough to be able to move around, obviously there's people that can't. But even if you can get outside, and if you wake up depressed, I found on my low days, you'll get low days. Everyone gets low days. You take the greatest star in the world on the biggest amount of money, they'll have down days. But if you wake up in your bed and you're feeling down, change your perspective, change your view. That could be just walking up the shopping bag, even if you don't really need anything. And you'll see how your head changes. Instead of sitting in it, that's when the problems start.
So do you think that acknowledging the thoughts that you've got in process to actually give you the better way of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I can't account for what everyone might be thinking, but for your own feelings, people do feel guilty about just having their own feelings, and it's trying to work through them, but you're not going to do that when you just wake up. You know, it's quite a process, and changing your life. There's people on courses that I've seen that on a 6-week course and they're like, it's going to change my life. It's like, no, it's not. If you think you're going to do something in 6 weeks that's going to completely turn your life around, you can fake it, we can pretend, but I bet you'll be back or something will go wrong. It's for life. It's about adopting a different view of yourself. That's the first thing, is making sure you've got enough armour in yourself and enough power in yourself before you try and interact with anyone else.
Yeah. So do you think that self-acceptance is highly important?
It is, and it is hard, because before I went bang, I would have said, what's all this about? Do you know what I mean? Just get on with it, man. But so I totally get that attitude, but when you do get to that point, it's the only way forward. It really is. For me, anyway.
For you,
and it works for the people that I see, yeah.
So what advice would you give to, what would your younger self give to you if you were going back to then? So what would you give yourself the advice now?
Stop worrying about what I think people are thinking about me, because you don't know. And realise also that when you're walking out and you might be a little bit paranoid in a situation, walking into a gym for the first time or into a club or whatever for the first time, everyone in that room is just as concerned about how they're coming across as you. Your feelings are normal.
Yeah. So do you find that to take the uncomfortable action and to understand where they are at that point of their life?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends where people are in trauma, if they're after trauma or whatever. But I would say the main things are try and reach out to someone close straight away. And even if you can't, then there's so many free services. Like now, I had a little part in that. It was a privilege to do it. Like the 111 number. In Bedfordshire, it's option 1. But I think it's option 1 here, but it's different around the country. But there's a specific mental health option, so you can speak to someone straight away about mental health and get put in the system.
Do you reckon they recommend they should speak to the Samaritans at some point?
Yeah, the Samaritans is all local. I mean, it depends what area. The Samaritans are national, but as well where local. There's crisis cafes in some places. There's recovery colleges, but again, that's not much good to you. If like when I was in psychosis, you're not in a state, so that's why education's so important.
Yeah. So do you think that there should be?
And how do you make mental health education fun to people that haven't been through it?
Yeah.
That's the hard thing.
Yeah. So do you think that education should be learned in schools about?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they should touch on them sort of things. Absolutely. It's not mentioned in schools. No. Not this sort of thing.
So the education system, do you think it needs to be refined to be able to understand where they are in life? So for example, they don't touch it when they're young, because they're too young to it. So would you say just to touch on it a little bit to give them awareness of like if someone goes through it, because obviously teenager awareness is much more vital today as well, because you don't realise that how much it affects them in today's world.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what we're getting with this education system, from what I've seen, are kids that have got no resilience because they're not exposed to anything unless they end up in gangs, and then it's off the scale. Your normal kid in a normal street, there's no resilience to them. On my council estate, if a kid was like their mum said they couldn't come out, we'd go and knock on their door knowing that they weren't allowed out. Come, please, can they come out? We were learning bargaining skills then. Now you can't go, and I'm not saying that you should do, but that's all been taken out of life now. Everything's sanitised. So we're building a whole generation that have got no resilience whatsoever. And that's part of what I do as well, is all the trauma I've had now, I've turned it into, and it's not great all the time. Of course, I've still got issues I have to deal with, but you can turn it into a power. That's the thing. You can do that, and people can be shown how to do that, and then you can use that how you want. But these kids at the moment, I can't see any resilience in them. They look lost, a lot of these kids.
So you said about something about power. Did you find that power as a superpower?
It can be, yeah, it can be.
Do you find it that it brings that the power that you can give? So it gives resilience, it gives empathy, it gives consideration, it gives the person on their journey that they can figure out where they are in their life.
Absolutely. And any conversation or interaction you have with someone, it's a transference of energy. So if you're better in yourself, you'll be amazed. Seriously, within 6 months, you have a look around and see how different your environment is. You'll probably find some friends have gone, new friends have appeared. It's amazing. But it all starts from in here.
Yeah, so it starts from inside.
Yeah.
So do you think change can change your philosophy in life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it has to.
It has to.
And you either adapt to it or you bury your head in the sand.
Yeah.
And then that can lead to the addiction, the trauma, the isolation.
That sounds like it's a bad thing that you can it's a good thing you've looked at it and gone how I can turn it around, and it's always a flip around. So you've took the negative and now it's the positive is in the state of mind.
Yeah, and it has been a long process, and it wasn't really a plan. But I say it wasn't a plan. It actually was, in a way, because when I was ill, really ill, on one of the occasions I was in with COVID, I'm really badly ill, because I had to learn to walk again twice, and I didn't help that in some ways, but I landed up having to learn to walk again twice. But when I was laid there, and I'd left my old job, I thought I need to be in some kind of job where I'm helping people, because I'll then be surrounded by people, like-minded people. I'll be working with like-minded people, and that's how it turned out. I didn't have a vision of doing what I'm doing now. It was bit by bit, so there was no master plan. It's just step by step, and that's the thing. If you've been through a lot of stuff and are able to talk about it, you can help people take them little steps and find their own way, because it's all going to be different. We're all destined for different things. That power might be used for someone else to get back to their old job and make their business bigger than it was, or to rectify issues with their family. But it's a source of energy once you realise, actually, I am resilient now. When a bill drops through the door that I wasn't expecting, I'm not laying on the floor crying about it or really worried about it. I just think, well, that's another issue, I'll deal with it.
Yeah, so does that give a resilience to, like, you can be able to just deal with it and not put yourself on the floor, because obviously that obviously entails that you're worried about the fear of the resolution you're going to give.
Yeah, we're often more scared of the answer than we are the question. But yeah, it just makes you resilient. So that's got so many benefits, but it's just how it's going to then manifest in your life. But it will be positive. It'll be positive. Even if your kids or your wife or whatever, your family, your friends, whatever, you'll see an improvement. But it's that people can get so down and so isolated, they can't get that first step. You could see anyone in the street, anyone, doesn't matter what state they're in, with a little bit of help, that person could be turned around. Obviously not everyone, I'm not talking about people, I'm not talking about all morbid diseases and stuff, not miracle workers, words aren't going to fix that. But even then, there's cases where people with certain ailments have been helped by having company, their longevity extended. If you crawl into a hole, you're finished. But yeah, resilience is the main thing for me. It puts life into perspective.
Yeah. Did self-awareness come along there?
I'm still working on that, but it's a lot better than it was. Yeah. It's a lot better than it was.
So how are you working on it now? So if I was a fly on the wall and the viewers can tell the viewers, how did the self-awareness now look back then to now? What's the difference?
I didn't have any self-awareness really before. I just felt like a robot. I had all that, like say, the house when I was in that stage, but I had no vision of what I was going to do in the future. Nothing. It was just day by day doing the same thing. Now I can see, I don't know where it's going to go. Part of it as well is giving yourself up to whatever you believe in and thinking what's going to happen is going to happen, but I've got to be stepping forward each day. And I speak to my mentors all the time, and I listen to recorders, stuff, anyone can get it, knock around whatever floats your boat. Yeah. Whatever floats your boat. But it becomes part of my day. I'll tell you what I have stopped doing is watching the news. Yeah, I stopped watching the news.
Do you think watching the news is a thing that we should only watch like once? No, not when we wake up, obviously, but when we're with it and say, okay, well, I'll just turn it over and see what briefly is going on, and then just for the rest of the day, that's it. No more.
I can't tell people what to do with that, but for me, it just annoys me watching it, You get told this is happening, that's happening. Of course there's horrible things walk out around the world, of course there is. And you open your window and there's birds singing and there's people from the local community knocking around. Every area's got its problems, in some places it's bad, but I can do without the news. I'd rather sit there in the evening, which I do most nights, and I call it research. It's great listening to these speakers who inspire me, who've been there, who I've listened to get where I am. And I'm not anywhere special, I'm just alive, I'm just happy to be alive. And this is the thing, talking and working with the people that I do, it makes me feel, it's horrible to say, but as well, it stops me feeling sorry for myself. So I'm getting out of it as well, because I think, well, I've been through all this and all this, but they've been through that and they've been through that. And listening to it, it just helps you keep on the straight and narrow. That's how I've worked with it. Yeah, that's how it's worked for me. Yeah. And I had no experience of working with people in these traumas before. Like I say, I was working in London for a big transport company for 35 years. That was the last thing on my mind. Spirituality, I would have laughed you out the house with it. But I won't go into what I believe, but it's helped me to get where I am.
So it's basically giving you the strength to give you further. Yeah,
and I've met lots of other people. Last night I was 75 of them, with 75 people, and there was probably 75 different inspirations in that wood that we were in, lighting a fire, like having a chat and a men's mental health thing. But they all found something that helped them, that opened their mind a little bit, but look inwards at what is going on in here.
So to tell me about that, how does that work with the fire? Does it give them perspective on how they feel their own life in a way?
Well, it's one of my mentors. He said he has it once every 3 months. He invites people down by invite only. It's a men's mental health group in a forest. Yeah. And we literally sit there, have some food, like some barbecue food, it's really nice, and then we just chat. That's all it is. That's all it is. And they're coming from all over the country for it. Because there's nothing like it. Men don't talk, do they? No. And that's why 4 in 5 suicides are male. So,
So do you find that now that men should really talk about their mental health?
I would like them to. I wouldn't say they should, because that sounds like I don't like saying. I know how difficult it is to, but if they can, it'll make a whole. It makes a whole. Just a completely different light on things. Dealing with like major trauma yourself, very rarely do you manage to get through it. Very rarely.
Did you think you was enough at that point of your life?
Sorry?
Did you think you was enough at that point of your life?
I was enough.
Yeah.
I'd had enough. I'd had enough so many times. I was just, the one thing that kept me going was my kids. My thought of my kids. And they weren't living near me at the time, but it was just through some really horrible situations I won't talk about. The one thought was, I've got to keep going for my kids. I've got to keep going for my kids. That was my drive. Somebody else would have a different one, but that was mine. And it kept, even when I was completely away with the fairies, that was still in the back of my head, and it kept me going.
No, that sounds all good, but yeah. One more last question, Stephen, we're going to wrap up just here. What changed in your life that you think that to keep you going, that moves you forward?
Just this completely different. It's so much, but so little. It was just having that moment laid on that bed, feeling that empty. I watched a YouTube video. This is before I know you, John, of someone who became one of my mentors, and that was enough to spark me. I was given a morning routine that was off the peg. It was like, try this, and that was the start of me fighting back. But there was so much in between, but it's the first step's the main thing. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, the first step is the hardest.
Do you think it's the hardest thing you could do in many ways?
Well, there was lots of hard things really on the way, but yeah, there was lots of hard things. That weren't the only one.
No.
No.
So do you reckon that, I would say then, is that the change that you had was inspiring you from mentors and from people that you looked up to in your era?
Yeah, and the other major thing was being able to look back and not sit in regret all the time. There's so much that happened that I can't go back and change. Some of it I caused, some of it I didn't. But you spend so much time looking backwards, you can be near the finish line and you stood there looking backwards all the time. But we do it all the time. We do it all the time. It's trying to put stuff in perspective, learn from everything that's sent you is a challenge. That's what I found.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just got to let's go with this. So the reason I would say that is that then you would understand yourself more. Would you say that?
I understand myself more, but I'm still not completely there.
No,
not completely.
No, we never do we?
No.
And we have to just understand where we are, and
it's living in the moment, trying to make the right decision in the moment, and not trying to take like a narcissistic view, trying to think 5,000 steps ahead and try and root yourself on. Just try and make the right decision in the right moment. That takes a lot of stress off you. And again, you see the results. You see the results within weeks, months.
Yeah, so do you see
the lovely thing is as well then, is integrity. That is important. So when you're trying to make the right decision as you go along, I've done things for people months, years ago, that a couple of years ago, so I've been ill about 5 years ago, it got its worst. People come and say, oh yeah, thanks for doing that for me. I don't remember. Because I made the right decision, I've done it, forgotten about it, moved on. It's lovely. Instead of having, like I did in the past, oh, I wish I had said that, I wish I had done this. When you're trying to make that right decision at each point in your life and living in the moment, there's no comeback on it. And you can talk without having to think about your answers because you're just speaking from the truth.
So do you find it's integrating the worth that you have? It gives you more sense of feeling?
Yeah, integrity is a big thing for me, but also then you've got stuff like communication. With integrity, there's stuff I'd like to talk about. I have to think about how I communicate it because I want to but you have to be mindful. But yeah, integrity is a nice thing to have. It's a nice thing to have, like to be where I am now, where I sat here with you, have nothing to hide. No, my cupboard is bare of scandal. I could talk about anything. It wasn't like that years ago when I was going through traumas. I had to do some horrible things. I did some great things as well. But there was stuff I'm not proud of, but I'll live, you've got to learn from it.
So do you
think, do it again.
Yeah, so do you think that your failures have been your greatest asset?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only come out of it, I'm still coming out of it. In 10 years' time, I think, whatever happens, I don't know where this is all going to go. I don't know. I'm doing so many things in different places. I don't care. I'm just doing the right thing. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm helping people. Opportunities are coming up. I think in another 5 years' time, I think this is even better. But I couldn't tell you where that's going to be, John. And I think in 10 years' time, it's going to be. But, you know, where you originally set off for, you've got to go with the flow, take opportunities. If you get too tunnel visioned, you can pay the price.
Yeah, I see that massively. I see it with one person that I knew, and they did the exact same thing. So you have to have an open mind.
And even if you're like I said to you, a lot of people live their life trying to float their boat in the right direction, looking behind them. Even when you turn around, they say like a master of the sea. They're not a master of the sea. What they're a master at is navigating it. But if you're not looking at the sea in front of you and you're looking at the weight behind you, trying to smooth down waves, you're not a loser. But this is where the problem is. There's a lag in turning around sometimes. If you've got an addiction, from looking back, there's a point you've got to give it up and trust that it's going to work out all right. And I use that as an example, but there is a lag. That's the problem, and that's where a lot of people fail.
So do you think it's the brick wall that's facing behind them that are lagging?
And not having people with lived experience to talk them through it, to support them. That's going to become so important. You hear it now everywhere, people with lived experience. That's what they said at the university, that when I said I sat with all them experts, and they talk about me, you're like, what? But it's lived experience, it's worth its weight in gold to them.
Yeah. Do you think it's knowledge? Knowledge is power. Do you think that?
No, not necessarily knowledge. I think because you can have people that have been trained to be consultants in the university and have all the letters after their name. I think it's, if you can get a consultant, for example, I'll just use that as an example, with lived experience and the expertise, you can't go wrong. That's going to work out okay. You've got a good chance there. But if you've got someone who's just read knowledge out of the book, this is where our education system would get taught to read stuff parrot fashion. That's what we're doing. So yeah, knowledge isn't the answer. It's what you do with it. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. So the power is in what you're doing.
Yeah, and if you've got lived experience, obviously it's easier to empathise with a person.
Yeah.
But you've got to realise, you know, someone who's going through, say, the same issues that you had, it's not going to be the same. It's not. They've got a different life. It could be that they crashed their car at this time. I'm using this as just an off-the-cuff example. I crashed my car once, but them accidents wouldn't have been the same. You can have two people with the same diagnosis. How it manifests isn't going to be the same. So, but being able to empathise, having been through similar, that's massive, rather than someone dictating to you out of a book.
Yeah. So do you find that you've took back control of your own life?
Getting there, but I think being lost in the right direction, John. I don't want to sidetrack myself too much with anything. I don't want to be too tunnel vision. Have focus on what I'm doing, focus on making the right decisions each day, but being open to change as well. And if I get feedback I don't like, and luckily I haven't had a lot, but take it on board. That's more important than people saying you're great all the time. That's nice to hear, but there's stuff to be learned in that. It's how we take it.
So it's a great quote that we just said a minute ago. Your failure is your biggest asset, massively.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned, especially through the psychosis and stuff, I actually thought a few years ago, I could have lived 100 lifetimes of the life I had with the car, the job and all that, and I would not have learned what I've learned now. It doesn't make me a better person, it doesn't make me feel I'm better than anyone else. It just makes me happier, being a bit more self-aware and not beating myself up quite so much. I still do it, I still procrastinate like other people do, but if there's no procrastination, it means you're not pushing yourself.
Yeah, so I always say that imperfection's key, because you never know what you're going to feel to it in the end.
Yeah, accepting yourself.
Yeah.
And then if there is stuff, like, I mean, I looked at it when I got a couple of diagnoses and stuff, PTSD is one of them. My attitude, I thought, I'm not looking for the label. I looked at all my behaviours I was left with after I come out of hospital and thought, what ones don't I like? I'm still working on some of them. Dropping the ego as a male is a hard one.
Yeah.
But the more you drop the ego, that looking back, that's ego, that's bruised ego, that's I should have said this, I should have done that, how dare they talk to it. That's ego.
Yeah.
It's hard to drop.
So the patterns you had, the patterns you had were the ones that you didn't want.
I didn't realise it was ego, but it's the one thing you can put that quite comfortably under. And when you look forward and think, well, I don't know everything, but I know I'm floating this boat in the right direction, then things happen for you.
Massively. They turn around on the corner and they go, peekaboo, here I am. And without realising it, it's just like a second like that.
Yeah.
So you understand where you are. Did you ever feel like that understandability was for you?
Sorry, what do you mean?
As in understanding that where you are in your life now, as in to what you were?
So I'm still working it out really, because I've got so much going on without anything going on, if you know what I mean. There's so much going on, there's so much potential, there's so little many bits and I'm just enjoying it, thinking someone's gonna having faith, that's the thing. Having faith. I know I'm gonna be alright. And that's confidence, that's real confidence. It's not walking into a room thinking I'm the hardest man here, it's going into a situation thinking no matter what happens, I know I'll be alright, because I've dealt with worse. That's nice to have as a basis.
Yeah.
And I was never well enough, sober enough, or whatever enough to actually think like that. But after being through all that, I can deal with anything. It doesn't mean I've got to like everything.
No.
You know, you set challenges to make you grow. That's the way I look at it, but some are hard.
Yeah.
But then you've got to try and make sure, unlike me, you don't put yourself in that situation again. That's what I did in the past. Like I say, with relationships.
Massively. Right, so thank you, Steve. Well, you've been an absolute pleasure.
I could go on for hours, mate.
We could, yeah. We could. Thank you everyone for joining the podcast. So Steve has gladly lent his knowledge to you guys, and I hope that you take on really well. If you find it resonational, hit on the comments in YouTube or in Spotify, and we'll see what happens. And Steve, where can they find you on
I've got a YouTube channel coming up, but yeah, it's in the making. Yeah.
It's in the making.
Get hold of me through you. How's that?
Oh yeah, we'll go through them. So, but guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope to see you soon, and we'll get your next guest on shortly. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Nice one.